Says meeting is now streaming
Live.
live.
Yeah, we are now live with all our friends who are watching us at JavaScript and Friends conference today. Thank you for speaking with us today, Jerry. And today we are going to ask you not some, but many questions to know what are your inspirations behind your startup journey and how did you get started. So we will take it smoothly and we will try to keep it informative for our attendees. So to get started, feel free to introduce yourself to our attendees today.
Absolutely. First, I would like to say thank you, Bhaskar, for having me. And I'm excited to share with the conference. You've been doing a lot of hard work. I know it probably isn't easy having to run this conference and do all the and wear the many hats that you do. So thank you, and we appreciate the work. And I'm glad to be here. My name is Jerry Valentine. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. Currently residing in Columbus, Ohio. I am a social entrepreneur, and I like to just tackle problems. I like to just really think and challenge myself. So that's kind of what drives me as an entrepreneur is just solving social issues and just putting my best foot forward, however that may be. So that's just a little bit about me. I am the founder of a year-old startup now called Renter Mentor, where we help connect people to affordable housing by providing a more secure and automated landlord-tenant process, as well as custom business automated solutions to businesses like housing agencies and community-based organizations that service the affordable housing space. So we officially have been on the record as a established business for only 8 months now, but I first pitched the idea back in April and have been working on it for a fairly long time, as far as probably about 2 years.
Great. And so what was your primary inspiration behind Renter Mentor?
So in 2016, I started working at the Columbus Metropolitan Housing Authority. That is how I got introduced into the affordable housing market, that industry, and got my kind of, not only learned the business of what a housing authority does, but I got to really work with both property owners, tenants, developers, all different type of real estate professionals, and the players within the space. So within my first couple years, I was always hearing, the tenants, how difficult it was to find landlords that were out there in the space. And on the other end, I would hear property owners talk about like, hey, I want to, list my property on Section 8, which is the primary responsibility for these local housing authorities across the nation. That's what they do, is administer the Section 8 or the housing choice voucher. So just hearing how difficult it was for the two parties to connect each other was what really sparked the curiosity to start my platform. And just to give you, I'm not sure how knowledgeable everyone is out there about the space, but when you get administered a Section 8 voucher, essentially, you have 90 days to locate a landlord. So you're under a time constraint. And you would think 3 months would be a long time to locate, someone, but it's not, because with that voucher that you receive, it's a lot of, we call it source of income discrimination, where the landlords don't take the voucher. And nothing, even though this is a federal program, there was nothing there's no law that it says that, these property owners have to take the subsidy, because essentially there is more steps. It's very easy to just list your property for rent in the private market, get some hits, screen, and then move them in. With the affordable housing process it's a lot more different, because HUD, the housing, the urban development of housing, who is the general body of all these funds in these municipalities, they require a lot of things. Compliance, it's complicated. You got to do paperwork. We got to verify you. We got to check. We're in your business. Then you got to go through inspections. All these different things I saw in the space of just what made it complicated, and so I started doing my own research, looking into these different housing authorities, and seeing, well, maybe just the one that I'm working in, just maybe it's just behind the times or something. So I started looking, and I couldn't find, there was no solution out there that was one, providing a searchable database of voucher-friendly landlords. And I found that strange, because you have things like HotPads, Zillow, Apartments.com. Is a plethora of essentially prop technologies out there that essentially does connections and property listings for the private market, but none that really catered. It's only one platform that's out there called GoSection8.com that is something similar, or tried to remotely be what Rent-A-Renter essentially is. But it's a lot of inefficiencies in that, lack of up-to-date properties. It's almost a predatory site of the space, where there was a lot of housing scams that go on there, which I heard a lot about within my 4 years at the housing authority. So the more and more that I kept hearing, and not just hearing, but also there were some processes that I could have felt could have been better, just as being in this for my profession, that, I was like, why aren't we streamlining this? Or why aren't we, putting this information on our website so landlords will know? Because we were doing a lot of sending back. It's a lot of human error that was happening, because, really a lack of education on how to fill out these things. And if the demographic, like how I know the demographic in which we serve, which is the low to moderate income, there's a lot of barriers, just outside of money, that this demographic experiences. So whether it be, elderly or disabled, you being, severely housing insecure, or just homeless, which brings along a lot of trauma in itself, or something, you got, like I said, elderly, disabled, veterans, basically a population that is very that is surrounded with a lot of challenges, is essentially what we're getting here. And hearing these stories coming from not just the tenants but property owners as well, it was almost kind of like, okay, what can I do here? And that was the spark of it, and it just so happened here, a local resource, where I was able to pitch the idea called Give Back Hack, which is a weekend hackathon. It's now global, because of the pandemic, where you can be anywhere to pitch an idea, and you don't have to be a quote unquote business person or this CEO. You can be a developer. You could be a business professional. You could be an accountant, whatever. You use that weekend because you can pitch your idea and you can generate a team. So I ended up pitching the idea April of 2019 as a solo individual at this competition, which was held at a local community, at a local college, and was able to get the team that I needed to form the first beginnings and win, some seed money and move on. So that's kind of how the whole startup journey for me started, and where the inspiration kind of sparked to do something in the space.
Cool. Because we know, like, generally entrepreneurs start creating solutions only when they are facing a particular problem, and you are able to notice that problem which is there out there in the housing space, and that sparked your thoughts, and it got rolled into what is Renter Mentor today. So while you initially started, right, because when you started, you might had you told about give back hack competition and all programs, but once you went into pitch into give back hack, and afterwards I think definitely you might be going to some sort of incubators or accelerators, right?
Yeah.
So within Ohio, because we will be hearing about accelerators. Many accelerators are available uh, outside of Midwest, but within Ohio, there are we are starting to see many accelerators and incubators. So what worked well for you, and what you want to share to us with respect to those programs which you are able to be part of?
That's a great question, and I actually love talking about this because really it's a huge component of what made our startup journey so special. Was because it was really birthed from these community programs that were out here helping, and entrepreneurs like myself, kind of be great. Because before that, I also have another business of mine is I help charter a nonprofit called Get Out Network, where we do K through 12 STEM and art workshops for underserved, underrepresented youth. So that's kind of where, as a sidebar, where I get my drive for technology, STEM education, and things like that. Is really my drive to bridge the digital divide that we see. But before that, I bring all that up is because I was in the space trying to network and do things, and it was very hard. Granted, I depended on so much of my network to get things done, to build a board and all that with that prior business. But before that, it was a lot of just like, okay, dealing with meetings and things like that, where it was like I can't build a team. It was hard to build teams. So what Give Back Hack in these hackathon weekends, what they allow you to do is to put yourselves in the rooms with all these different type of people with all these different type of skill sets. And so that's why I say you don't have to be an entrepreneur, you don't have to be a developer, you don't have to be a marketer. You can be whoever you are in that space, and whatever you want to do, you can do it, and you can attract other people to do whatever else. Or you can join a team. You don't have to be the one to pitch anything either. You can literally gravitate to an idea, which was what happened to me. I had 3 individuals that happened to make up the perfect components that I needed to execute a perfect pitch for that Sunday. So after Give Back Hack, what happened was we got a lot of traction. Give Back Hack is very established when it comes to the social entrepreneurial space and the social enterprise space, as well as the technology space. So we got a lot of kind of attention just from doing that, which led us to end up going straight into literally like 2 weeks later, we applied for a accelerator called Sea Change, which stands for Social Enterprise Accelerator. So SEA Change. And it was 14 weeks, and it was free. And there I was able to do some more iteration, some more user validation to, because I'm still in ideation phase at this point. So Give Back Hack, I ended up winning $7,500 plus some in-kind resources to like co-work space, pitch practice with like some VCs, to really, more resources than I could have really handled at the time. Plus outside, when you win those, or I wouldn't say win, when you're awarded funding from those type programs, you also, when you go to these meetups and these other spaces that they host, people start, hey, I heard you do this, and da da da. So people that, and you need that in order to develop your ideas, develop teams, especially in tech. You can't do this by yourself. So that's how I was able to gravitate more team members, iterate on some more ideas, do some more user validation. And then ultimately, after that 14 weeks, win some more seed money and some more in-kind resources. So the traction was very high for us early. I'll say from April, the end of April, where I first pitched the idea, until September 11th of 2019. And I remember that date because the pitch competition was on the September 11th. We very much accelerated. And really didn't have time to, during these accelerators, they're more so helping you really develop the business model, more so the product. So we had accelerated for almost 3 months, and it was like, okay, we've got all these resources, we got funding, we got people, we got traction. That that want to talk to us, they want to learn more, they want to do this. And so for about 3 to 4 months, we accelerated. Then after September, I'll say from September until November, it was meetings, taking meetings. Like I felt like I went on a tour. Mind you, I was still working a full-time job at this point, because I had not resigned from the housing authority here yet. So I was still balancing all of this with the full-time job, and just trying to be as super productive whenever I could. I was even using PTO to go like, hey, you want to meet me at lunch? Yes. Hey, going to my supervisor, I'm calling off. I'll be back in 2 hours, just to handle some business, because the traction, one, I had got the validation that I needed, that, one, working in the space for 4 years, I knew there was a need. I knew there was opportunity. But to pitch it to people that weren't involved into the space was what got me. It was like, okay, people know that this is needed. And that was, I got the validation. So it was a lot of meetings for 2 months after that. And after, it was, so like I said, around November, at this point, I knew in order for me to sustain this, something had to give. Either I needed to figure out how to allow someone to run renter, or to do, what a CEO could do, or I needed to resign. And I ended up resigning, and it's been one of the best decisions. After that, I reassessed, kind of like, okay, after all of those meetings, and it was a good thing because November enters the holiday season. So a lot of things were slowing down for businesses. Businesses were closing for the holidays and things like that. So it allowed me to really reassess, like, what resources do we have? What meetings did we already have with the people? And what can we do with all of this in a strategic manner to move forward? To be honest, we started with consulting services. That was how I was like, okay, I can get paid for this right now, working directly with these landlords, and seeing where the pain point is for them, how to best automate these processes. Because at this time I had no tech players, actually. I'm not a technical person, as far as with all the skills and tools to develop software. I just was the idea man, and I know how on a high level what I wanted to do. So we were very much, it was like, well, with us not having any tech skills, what can we do to generate money right now? And that was the consultant services of actually onboarding and recruiting landlords, and educating them on the process, the landlord tenant law, walking them through the different compliance paperwork, the inspection process, And then ultimately turning in to get their subsidy payments through the housing authorities or other community-based organizations is what we did. So we piloted that for about a month. Then we closed down because of the holidays. And we wanted, take what we learned from, that month of working with the landlords that we were able to work with and the tenants, and wanted to really came up with the strategic plan to launch these consulting services for February, full going on. And of course, that got pushed back. But about time we were ready, COVID-19 happened, which stopped the consulting services because we didn't know what was going on with the virus and things like that, and we were forced to stay home. But by that time, which was March of this year, through going back to your point of these accelerators, these programs, still very much, and I have a list of things that are resource or tools that I use in that gap time and between September and until about February, that really helped me develop my team that I have right now. Was after the accelerator, that again, Sea Change here in Columbus put me on another platform, especially within the social enterprise space. So we were popping. We were the kind of the buzzing startup here in Columbus that people wanted to talk to. They wanted to know more and things about, which was good because we were able to iterate on how we were talking about this, get more business ideas, possibilities, and things like that. But I started also within the midst of this because I was an entrepreneur. I didn't have to go into work. So I had now a whole week, that I needed to do. And the first rule that I'll say, if you're an entrepreneur, that you need to do, that first leap is, how do you develop a schedule? You have to learn how to keep your schedule looking like you have 40 hours of things, at least. That's the bare minimum. And of course, you determine that, which is the beauty of it all and what I like about it. But that is not, and it was, especially it was hard for me to establish at first because holidays happened. It was like, okay, as I was getting into the groove, because November 1st was my last, I had all of November to use Eventbrite and go to these meetups and go to workshops and to go, take up on coffee to all the people that wanted to learn more about Renter Mentor and we making partner and all that. But once the holidays happened, it outside of like holiday parties, it was hard. So it took me almost a couple months to learn how to develop a schedule and to keep a full schedule and to keep busy. But in the midst of that month, though, I was able to really establish my roots with the Black Tech Columbus organization, who has been since the start of Renter Mentor, been very helpful and recruit. I wouldn't even say it was more recruiting. It was network and build a tech team of developers. Right now, I have a team of 7, and of that 7, 4 of them are on the dev team, 3 developers, including the CTO, and then our cybersecurity specialists that we have just strictly focus on that because we're dealing with highly sensitive information with housing and then, personal information, social security, things like that. So cybersecurity is key. So yeah, the accelerators out there and the hackathon weekends, they're there and they're helpful. There's a plethora in Ohio, ones that I have been privileged enough to go into and do. One was Startup Weekend, which I actually got access for free in like 2018, the fall of 2018. And that was my first hackathon weekend, and it was free. Grow by Google sponsored that. And for me, then it wasn't even to pitch an idea. I literally levitated to a team. I wanted the experience. I wanted to be in the ecosystem. I wanted to see what it was about. I wanted to be around more tech people. And I think that is the beauty of not only, accelerators and hackathons, but even conferences like, JavaScript and Friends. It's bringing, and a lot of people would look at this conference and be like, why is he speaking at a JavaScript? And that's for developers. A lot of people box in tech conferences and events just for technical people. And that's not the case. And I even too had to get out of that, unconscious bias about it, and just like, well, even though I don't have the skills, I can still go into this room and see what I can bring to the table. And I think if nothing else, if you guys get this out of from this talk, is really whether you're a developer, you're an aspiring entrepreneur, you're in a C-suite, you're an entrepreneur. I was an entrepreneur for 4 years. Go into spaces that are untraditional, because that is how you grow. That's how you can see the understanding. What made building a business, this particular business, difficult was once we figured out the product and the services, that was easy. It's all about execution and getting the people, having the resources to bring that in. That was easy. It was really explaining the business so that in a manner that everyone understood, because we're juggling two big industries. You got technology, and then you have the housing ecosystem. Two opposites of the spectrum, really, because if you, especially this component of housing, affordable, it's really public sector, so very kind of slow to innovate, slow to adopt technology. So when we talked about helping the tenants and they got that. But then when it was talking about how we wanted to implement technology and streamline processes and help connect, it was like, whoa, hold up. It was a bit too much. And then with the technologists, it was, we get the tech, we get the automation, we get the streaming, we get the connection, we get the technology. But then I start saying affordable housing, then it's like, why isn't this? And it was just a huge disconnect. So learning how to balance that, how you got to talk about it, and you got to see what questions people ask you, how they look at you, pitching the idea just at random times, at random themes. That was the ultimate benefit. So the more feedback and the more iteration that you can do while you're in the ideation / early development phase, it was great. And not outside of just capital, we got a lot of in-kind resources. Co-work space, that's another great resource. We co-work out of COVA and Franklinton here in Columbus, Ohio, and they specialize in being they want to foster social entrepreneurs and social enterprises. So with being aligned in mission and things like that, they very much not only serve as a mailing address and a space for us to do business out of, but also a platform. They provide newsletters, they do social media blasts for us too, whatever we need. And if we ask, they'll figure out a way, providing different resources, like internships opportunities. That's been another, since we've started, I don't think I've never not had a group of interns that worked with us. And it's me. I know people hear interns and be like, woo, free work or whatever. And that's not how I try to take it. We've had some paid internships that were funded by third-party organizations that just needed, like this summer, we worked with an organization called Lead the Way, which was brought to you by Franklin County Franklin County Jobs and Family Services. So it was a workforce development program for high school youth. So we had 3 high school youth that interned with us and got paid for it by the county, $10 an hour. And it, at the startup phase for a high schooler, they did some market research, but I really wanted to give them an overall experience, a learning experience, and a good remote virtual experience. So we had speaker series, we had workshops being done virtually. They did virtual tours in these co-work space, and things like that. So I know I'm going on the tangent, but I say all of this was because all of that spun out of going to Give Back Hack. And I would have not probably, really had gotten a lot of these opportunities and been in a lot of these spaces if it wasn't for that, initial kind of launch pad that Give Back Hack was able to provide.
Cool. So that was a lot of information for us to understand and relate with respect to the accelerators and the Give Back Hack program, right? So Columbus has got currently all these supporting programs, and it's good that you are able to share your experience from all these programs. And congratulations for your current release. I think we had some news out of your agency. So what tech stack do you use at Renter Mentor?
So yes, tech stack right now, Java. There's some Django in there. And like I said, I'm not the technical one. I'm just kind of going off of what I know. Very simple technology is essentially what is being used at Renter Mentor. I do not have the exact flow of it. I will try to pull that up before the end of the call to get the tech stack from Bakari. But yes, right now it's a very simple, because the technologies that we're using has been out, and really they're all enterprise solutions, but they're all open source. So we're not spending a lot of money on this technology, so definitely it's a very simply built platform. We built our database, first, and this is me learning how to build technology, and how we started building off and testing this thing was through wireframing. I'm trying to think, the Envision wireframing program, and just literally, basically, we thought essentially it was going to be a mobile app, but we were not able to. It was like, okay, well, the mobile app is more expensive, and it also brought more barriers within the population as far as, okay, can their phone download, us from the App Store, or then we got to build the app in Apple or iOS, and then Android. So that's more cost, versus it's like, well, the basis of it all is a web platform, and then that is more, that'll make it easier. So that is kind of the strategy within using simple technologies for our MVP and our release that's coming in September, to ultimately build up upon and expand, with more, as our platform starts using more information, getting more data and things like that. So we are very, like I said, it's simple technologies with API friendly components to it, because that's the most efficient way to exchange information across platforms and services as well.
Great. That was a lot of information for us, and thank you for speaking with us today, and thank you for sharing your experience from the various programs and your journey of Renter Mentor with us. So if there is one advice, if you want to give someone who is starting newly, what will that be?
First advice is that you don't have to know everything and you don't have to do everything. That I think that's big in the entrepreneur journey is that especially building a startup, you can't do this alone, and you need to learn how to um, delegate, how to depend and lean on other people's expertise and knowledge. Number one. Number two is that you need to know your why. On why before you do anything, pursue it, because that's ultimately going to be the drive that pushes you to execute. The more you are in tune with the why and the stronger that it aligns with your ultimate kind of purpose and what drives you, it's going to continue to make you be resilient, because the startup scene it looks cool, but it's very hard on an entrepreneur. And you get told no a lot. You get people questioning your ideas. You get people criticizing your idea. You get people that just don't believe in you. You get a lot of unfortunately, it could be perceived as negative energy. But in reality, it's just how the process just goes for building a business. And you got to know what is going to keep you and what's going to keep you motivated and moving towards that ultimate goal, and whatever that goal may be, whether it's to build a unicorn, whether to get acquired, whatever that is going to take work.
Cool. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you for speaking with us today. And I hope our attendees would have got some valuable insights from your talk. Thanks for joining with us today.
No problem, Bhaskar. Thank you for having me. Please, as a last word, follow us, Renter Mentor, on social media platforms. We're doing some really good things, and we're growing, we're building. We would love to, have, JavaScript and friends, really come out and just show some support, reach out, see how we can help each other. Like I said, it's these type solution, it's a community issue that we're solving here, and we're just trying to just do our part. And if you feel like you can help, and if I can help in any way, follow us on Renter. For Twitter, it's Renter, RENTER_MENTOR. And then LinkedIn and Facebook is just Renter Mentor, and then you can just follow me and reach out. That is essentially, that's a tool, a hidden tool that I rediscovered during this quarantine, was Twitter. And that's ultimately how me and Bhaskar kind of connected to make this happen. So Jerry V513_ on all social media platforms, follow. And just see, you don't necessarily have to look, I'm trying to be on the team, which we're here to open to that. But if it's just, hey, I've got a business idea, or I got resources that I may have or I may need, I'm here to just talk and see where the synergy is. So thank you for having me, and I appreciate you all time. Thank you.
Thanks.